Hello and welcome to the podcast. My guest today is Fredrika Syren. Fredrika is the author of the books A Practical Guide to Zero Waste for Families and Eco Savings, How to Save Money and the Planet. She's also a journalist who writes about sustainable living for families. Fredrika is a single mom of 3 teenagers, and they are a zero waste family living in Stockholm, Sweden. How are you today, Fredrika?
Oh, I'm good. And thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so glad to see you. You are in Sweden, in
Yeah.
Stockholm, Sweden, right now, recording. And I happen to be in a farmhouse. I live in an agrihood, a tiny home community built around an organic farm. And I'm in the historic Bergstrom farmhouse, which was built in 1902 by Swedish immigrants.
Oh,
So
God, who
you're in
knew?
Stockholm, and I'm in the Swedish farmhouse.
Like small world.
All right. Well, my first question for you, Fredrika, is what do we mean by zero waste, and how did you become a zero waste family?
Well, I want to actually say, so zero waste is a very personal thing, I believe. There is no rules. This is not a religion. Like I say, the zero waste looks very different from person to person. And I have run into a lot of zero wasters where I'm like, okay, for me, that wouldn't be a zero waste, but for you, it is. So zero waste for me and my family means that we are really taking every precaution and step that we can to reduce our waste. And we are very conscious about it. It's a journey. It is something we enjoy. I wouldn't do this if this was like too much suffering. I am a person who loves challenges, and zero waste just happened to be one of them that I do. So we are just every day, we do the same thing that everyone else on the planet does. We take showers, we travel, we have parties. We just do it without or as little waste as possible.
So, as a mom of 3 teenagers, I'm wondering how your kids have adapted over the years, with peer pressure and all of that. How has that been for them to be zero waste? Mhm.
So my kids were, my daughter was 9 and my boys were 4 and 2 when we became zero waste family. So the 2 youngest, they have like really no memory of us having a trash can. My daughter do remember it, and she remember our lives with trash cans, and she remembers them without. And in the beginning, she thought this was so hard. Like, why do we have to be different? Why can't we have a trash can like everyone else? And the boys are funny because, like I said, that they don't have any memory. They have always been zero waste in their mind, and actually, they had a different kind of set of problems. They end up growing up thinking this is normal, this is what everyone does, and went to their friend's house. And then someone will be like, "Oh," they would be like, "What do I do with this?" And they're like, "Throw it in the trash." And they would be literally like crickets. I'm like, "Trash? What do you mean trash?" Like because they didn't have that. I like a funny story is actually my youngest. He came home from preschool with a paper napkin that had patterns on it, convinced that this was a treasure map because he had never seen a paper napkin before.
A treasure map. That is so great.
Yes, and you're gonna love his sister. She's like, "Yes, this is a treasure map, and I know how to read it." And she actually went out and hid something in the garden for him, because we wanted to like have that instance that that's what he actually came home with.
So you don't have a trash can at all?
No, we haven't had trash cans since 2015. That's when my then husband, my kid's dad, removed it, and he actually he only moved it out to the hallway, but that little long walk made us just think about what we had, that what we had in our hand. But for us, it was like, okay, so we don't have a trash can. We got to figure out what we're going to do with all those things. So we had to do a trash audit, meaning before we removed the trash can, we actually collected all our trash for 1 week and went through it. It sounds grosser than that it really is. And then we will categorize it like, okay, these things can be composted. These things we can recycle. These things we can actually switch and buy something that is not packaged in something. These things we don't know what to do with, so we're just going to refuse them.
A trash audit. That's something tangible that anyone can do to figure out what kind of waste they're producing. So you mentioned a couple of things. I know in your book Eco Savings you talk about the 5 R's. Can you, because we know reduce, reuse, recycle, that's what we say, those three, but you've got five. Can you outline those for us?
Yes. So, as zero wasters, we live according to the principle of reduce, reuse, recycle, rot, as in compost, and refuse, as in saying, no, thank you, we're not going to do that at all.
So you start with refusing. I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That may have been something that I did in the past, but since I've done the trash audit, I've decided from now on I'm refusing that. And then
Yeah.
the ones we're familiar with, but the rot is the composting, which we
Yes.
do here, which is great. And the thing that I didn't realize until a few years ago is how important it is. Like if you're doing gardening, if you've got that compost, it enriches the soil so much. So,
Yes.
um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a gardener and I also have a gardening course. And I always tell everyone before you even plant anything, you got to actually start producing compost. That's the most important. You cannot garden without compost. And sure, you can go buy compost, but why? If you already paid for all the peels and the food, you might as well get the best out of it. So, you take something that in a landfill will become methane gas, one of like that harms the planet and humans. But if you put it in the compost, it becomes pure gold for your garden.
and that's something also we have a community garden here that we just opened this year, and I have a plot in it. But in preparing the beds, we got good soil that we put into it, but we also added compost. And then we even had mushroom blocks that we broke down and added to the soil. But what amazes me is how everything is flourished beyond what we could have imagined. And it started with the soil, just like anything else. The foundation
Yeah.
is so important.
Yes, I wished we would talk more about soil. I can talk like hours and hours about the importance of soil. And adding compost to the soil just makes the most beautiful soil. And I like let's not take soil for granted because there are so many depleted soils and how food is grown in the world right now, it is in depleted soil. That's why the food doesn't contain as many nutrients as it did probably when you and me grew up as kids.
Right.
But you have to add that compost for the food to actually have the nutrients too.
That's so important. Thanks for sharing that. So, another thing I want to know about is, you're a journalist, write about sustainable living, but how did you become so passionate about sustainability?
Well, so I started my career as a 20-year-old thinking I was a hotshot journalist and started writing actually for political newspaper here in Sweden, and they happened to be the Green Party's newspaper. So I got into more environmental questions and stuff like that. And I did that for 20 years. I wrote about companies and government and holding them accountable. Once I became a mom, which is now almost 20 years ago, that's when I realized that climate change was going to be the biggest threat that my kids were going to face. And that the missing piece of all of this is actually human. It is the individual action. It is going to take all of us. We keep pointing fingers at everyone else, what they need to do more. But the fact is, it's going to take all of us. And I realized how much waste my family was producing with this brand new baby in the house. She was tiny and she came with a buckload of waste. And I'm like, this is not normal. And I'm like, I gotta like change something. And like, I want to make this very clear. People are like, I could never be a zero waster. Well, it took us a very long time. It actually took us 10 years to get there because every year we would try to reduce something in our household until we came to the point where we said we're ready to remove the trash can.
And that is just like anything else, change takes time, and we can do it little by little, and it is making an impact. You did mention government and corporations. I do think that yes, we all have to do our part, but we also do have to hold them accountable. And since you have some experience in that area, what can we as individuals do to push them to be more accountable in their actions?
Well, I would say first, the most important thing we can do is vote. We have a vote for a reason. And I know it feels like with whatever's going on in the world, and it's not just in the US, it's all over the world that there are coming leaders that we might not agree with. But our vote matters and we can make changes. So we have to trust that system. That's the first one. And second thing is that we have to also use our voice. we have to talk about things because the one thing that I realized as becoming a zero waster, I have a more impact as a zero waste family than I did as a journalist. More people listen to me today than they did what I wrote because people go like, "Oh, I cannot read anymore about climate change," and I understand that, but what I was offering that I didn't in my articles, obviously, is solutions. People want to actually live more sustainable. I just believe that they don't know how to do it. And so I think you more we have people talking about these things, you more people will raise their voices. And the grassroots movements move the mountains. We have seen it in history and we will see it again. I firmly believe in this, that we need to just use our voices.
That is so powerful, and you offer solutions, and also I love your social media. That's how you and I connected, actually. You show, "This is my family, this is how we do things." Your YouTube videos where you go and forage and, just all of those things, you just offer practical ways that we can make little changes in our lives. So, if you were to come up with a couple of the most impactful things that an individual could do, what would that be?
Well, I would say that, like I said, first of all, to be an example. I think that's the most important, especially an example to our children. It's really important. But also, if I would like bring one like really practical one, it would be to battle your food waste. Really start working on food waste. First of all, it's going to save you a lot of money. We throw away, like an Americans throw away something like $2,000 worth of food every year in the trash. And it's like, if you think about that, that it's actually like, it almost makes your head want to explode because the prices of food is insane. And also what goes into it, all the water and transportation, stuff like that. So food waste is something, it's actually very tangible, it's easy, but it has a huge impact because most food don't get composted. It gets sent to a landfill and it does not rot. That is the biggest misconception. In the landfill, bacteria will get in and methane gas will actually develop, and that is a greenhouse gas. So I would say, start looking at how do you store your food? What do you buy? Eat up your leftovers and make a plan, whatever plan that is, to reduce your food waste. And everyone will benefit from that one.
That is so good. In fact, when I moved here to this agrihood, we have a farm stand every Saturday. So I walk out my back door and I go and get whatever is in season.
So jealous.
And I love it. Um, and based on what I get there, I do a
Mm,
food plan for the week. Now, it's a small farm, so it's not going to have everything for the
yeah.
week. I still do grocery shopping like everybody else, but it's that plan that you're talking
Mhm.
about. And then also resisting the urge to get something that's easier, taking the time to cook and prepare my vegetables so that they don't go to waste. And I do want to mention your book, Eco Savings, that's just one of the ways that sustainability saves money that you outline in this book. And it's really informative. Right now, we are all pinched financially. And so anything that we can do that saves money and, as you say, saves the planet, why not try it? So I love that you cover that in your book.
Well, thank you. Like as a single mom with three kids, like money doesn't grow on trees for me. And I have teenagers, so they cost a lot of money. So doing like all these little small things, and you don't look at how much it will save you that day. Look at how much it will save you over 1 year. So like not buying Ziploc bags might not save you a whole lot in 1 month. But if you look over time or 10 years, you will see some amazing amount of money.
Right. And I also see sometimes people will say, "Oh, I want to shift everything at once," and they will throw out the things that they have. And I'm like, "No, you use them up." Like I still have some Ziploc bags a box that I've had for a couple of years that are going to last me forever. I'm going to use them up. I'm not just going to get rid of them, but um, using what we have, I think, is pretty helpful as well.
Yo, absolutely.
One of the things that comes through in all of the content you share is how much you love nature. And I know this is a broad question, but what are some of the things that you appreciate the most about nature?
Oh God, yes. I grew up in Sweden. Nature is obviously near and dear, but I also lived in San Diego where nature, a different kind of nature. So, what I love about nature, a lot of different things. I grew up playing in nature. Who needs toys? Who needs TV when you have nature? And my kids have grown up the same way. Like, I literally could just, we go into the forest, we sit down, and suddenly
Mm.
they're running around. And there's teenagers, but they're still like exploring and finding and loving that. So it's a big playground for kids, and it's all about learning and respecting, and who knows what you're going to run into, we run into a snake. I don't like personally like snakes, but the kids were fascinated on the distance watching the snakes and how beautiful this was, that this was it, we were in their backyard. But also, I think that nature is so resilient. It is amazing if you actually take the time to watch it. In San Diego, when we lived there, we had a lot of major fires, and we had one very close to our house. And we were so sad to see that all these trees got scorched. But lo and behold, a year later, the trees start growing. They recovered, they found a way. And that is the most amazing thing about nature. And I wish we would like learn from nature, like resilience, how it will figure things out. If you walk in, I live in the middle of the city, there are things growing in the cement of houses and up, like nature will find a way to grow, and we should let it.
Oh, that is so true. And I think about what you talked about at first, nature is entertainment. And for me, even walking around my neighborhood, I don't put earbuds in my ears. I
Yeah.
don't worry about how many steps I'm taking. I walk through and just keep my eyes and ears open and
Yeah.
experience it. I remember going down to the creek as a child, catching tadpoles, letting them go. I remember finding different kinds of leaves and getting the old Encyclopedia Britannica out and looking them up. And I mean, those are memories that are embedded. And I do think that we've lost that a lot. There's a lot of entertainment that's readily available to us
Mhm.
electronically. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that it's bad, but just opening our eyes to what's around us, it's just an amazing world. And then that you bring up the resiliency,
Mm.
that's phenomenal. I hadn't thought about that. Nature finds a way.
Yeah.
And I will say we've got to stop forcing it to find a way.
Yes, I know.
Let- let's
Let it
let's try to help
grow.
it along a little bit.
Yeah, and it's like I would say, like someone who gardens a lot, I do end up getting a lot of volunteers. That is like, some birds grab a tomato and ate it and then dropped it somewhere in the garden. And some poof, like a tomato plant would grow up in the middle of my walk path. I will always let it grow because and appreciate these beautiful volunteers. They're the most fun things ever. But I want to say also the thing about you said about not putting your earbuds in. I'm a marathon runner. My son is, and we run a lot.
Wow.
And I live in the city, but you can run across this bike path bridge, and there's a nature reserve. And one morning, when early morning, when I was running and I was looking out at the water, and I suddenly hear this coming behind me, and I turn around. It's like a whole family of deers coming on the same bridge with me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, you're gonna pass me." So I just pressed myself up against the wall, and they just boop, passed me like, "Okay, good morning. We're going to this way." And I'm thinking to myself, "Where are you going?" There is like a city on the other side, but they were heading in to the park somewhere to go and hang out. It's like how beautiful this is, and I would have missed that if I
Right.
did have the earbuds in it.
Yes, and I think there's so much of that I used to miss
Mhm.
because I'm not young, I'm 60,
Oh,
and
you're
it's
young.
on Thank you, dear. It's only been in the last few years that my eyes have opened to all that's around me. But
Mm.
I'm so grateful that it has. And being in a new area, because I moved from Nashville, Tennessee to Austin, Texas, and just seeing with growing my own food and that sort of thing, seeing the bugs that have come around. I posted something today about this little neon blue dragonfly called the damselfly that's it's unbelievable, and I'm
Oh,
like, "That is the prettiest dragonfly I've ever seen in my life," and I see them all the time here, and so just opening our eyes to what's around us, I think for me personally, When my eyes open to the beauty that surrounds me, how can I not take steps to make sure that this exists for my children and grandchildren and future
Oh,
generations?
oh, you're gonna make me cry. Like it makes every time someone says that, it makes me so happy. Because yes, we owe it to our kids to take care of this beautiful planet. We do that. We cannot. I mean, we cannot just hand over the planet to the kids and say, "Well, it's going to hell. Good luck to you." This is a
Right.
beautiful place. It's their legacy that we're leaving them. So it's we got to fight for it.
Well said. Very well said. I so appreciate you taking the time to chat with me this morning, Fredrika. And I want you to tell my listeners where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me at thezeroWasteFamily.com. That's my website. I'm also, and there you can find me for my YouTube channel. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, and I'm very active on YouTube where I share a lot of videos from Sweden, foraging and zero waste tips and gardening and whatever happens to be going on in my life and money saving tips.
Great. Thank you again. It's been wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, if today's conversation stirred something in you, I want you to know there's a place to go deeper. I work with a small number of women privately through my Connected Simplicity coaching. 90 days together, where we move beyond the outer simplicity and start doing the inner work, the connection to yourself, to others, to nature, to something greater. If that's resonating, I would love to have a conversation with you. You can find details in the show notes or reach out to me directly on Instagram. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I would so appreciate it if you would review, rate, or share it with one woman who you think would benefit from it. Until next time, live simply and connect deeply.